right, how we doing? Happy Friday to you. This is Sam here with you. It's the 23rd of August, and of course, if it's a Friday, we're going to take a look at Bitcoin. Some interesting things happening. So we're going to get here in just a sec. Before I do here, I've got to mention this to you here as we still have this running here. So we are offering a little back to school special, it being a university. We thought this was appropriate here. So we're offering 20% off of your first month for that month-to-month membership, or 25% off of our shorter term multi-month, where you can save a little extra dough there two different ways. Now, you will need to pay attention to this little code here. You'll need to get that in your basket when you're checking out to have those kick in, and still you can pay via crypto or PayPal. It'll do the math for you. So if you can find this over on our Twitter feed, or you can always reach us. Well, if you could email us to reach us on Twitter, YouTube here, we're pretty responsive. So just to keep that in mind, we've only got 15 of them available, and they do tend to sell out. We've got a few left, so you might, if you're thinking about it, that's something to keep in mind, a way to save yourself a little dough. All right. So with that said, let's go take a look at Bitcoin. All right, guys, what I thought I would do today is stay with what I've been featuring lately, which is both with and without the Elliott Wave here. We can determine as to whether or not it's helpful or not, or necessary. Received pretty good feedback, but certainly amongst members that don't rely on Elliott Wave entirely for their decision-making process, but also some of our YouTube subscribers. So we'll look at it here, and I'll let you determine whether or not it's helpful or not. So this is where we left it here in this same thinking. There has been a development here, and it's kind of interesting to see how the market's responding today with the insanity in the traditional markets today. It's not surprising that we're getting a little bump here in crypto, Bitcoin in particular. Now, how is it affecting what we're seeing here? Well, I think when we left last week, we were down. We were in kind of in this range, and we had talked about but there's mixed signals, right? You can see it right here in the sequence of channels, right? So we've got a down-sloping channel here with three pivots, and then we've got this up-sloping channel as well, and then the current shorter term trending down. So it's this entire section has been a real bear, certainly for Elliotticians trying to get a count that works on this. I am going to take you through a primary and an alternate. At this point, I'm kind of leaning towards the alternate, but it's going to be interesting to see how this section we're currently in now resolves here. May give us some clarity in terms of getting a little bit more confidence in account coming out of this section, assuming we're going to come out of this section in the near term, or we'll come out of it eventually. So with regards to the current price action, we've got, here's a 4-hour. I'm over here on Bitstamp. So let's go to the 1 hour here, and we'll kind of pick up where we left off from last Friday. All right, so here's we had the very technical confluence points here that I've been through the last couple of weeks here, and then we come into the, right, you tell me what that is, right? I'm going to give you a few ideas, but this is very, very hard, right? Very, very unclear as to exactly what we have here with regards to any Elliott labeling, but that doesn't mean we can't trade it. So the last thing that we looked at was the down-sloping trend line that when was last Friday? Oh hell, I can't remember. I think we had hit this pivot here, and we had a little bounce. So the way we left it was going to be interesting to see what was going to happen. We had this pivot when we came up here to this sell zone here. Was there going to be a reaction dominant high to low? Well, there's your reaction right now. Interestingly, we are denied target, right? So we get the reaction at the 50, right? It's just like clockwork, right? The algos kick in to start selling here. Now we get a pretty good reaction, but now we're maybe not. So this algorithm here is going to sell. It will defend all the way to this 65, but it has a target down here, right? So we know what happened there. We know why it stopped there. We know what happened. Now coming down, it's kind of getting interesting here. So we have that in play. But then, of course, right, this is always happening on smaller degrees, so I can just do the exact same thing again. All right, so just down here, get right on that. Well, we're through the 50, but we're right in that little pocket between the 50 and the 618, and we're just tickling the Vegas wave here. So you see here, we're just running into the 233, so we're in that zone where you would anticipate that on a lower time frame, if you will, or whether it be a 15-minute, you're in that sell zone. And this, if there's if this doesn't break the 65 and we start to head down, then this becomes our target here, right? You can always look to the edge to try and catch these, right? So we've got a short-term target per this if we start to come down and we don't break that 65. Now, if we do break the 65, right, it's just we're back to, well, here's the big one. Then here's the sell zone up here. Once visited, they will defend right up to that 65. So that would be a potential path. If we're going to kick right out of here and break that, then maybe a revisit here to challenge that 50. You can see here we get a little dip in the volume profile here, less market acceptance, and that's likely tied to this here, right? So you can see there was no trade acceptance there. This would be a factor in there as well, right? Just the market has rejected the spot, thus creating that little divot in the volume profile. So we're going to come, if we don't know, right? If we're going to come back up, that's a place to be looking, which would just set this up, right? Now that we'll see how this develops, but of course that we look to the left, right? That would key you off down here with that as a target, and then note down here on the larger degree, here's our 50. Right, so from the low, so if I pull all the way back out, right, if we're assuming that this is a completed impulse and then we're looking for our second at the 50, you can kind of see a path to get down there. So we had considered this as potentially a roadmap to get us down here to get to that more typical wave 2 relationship. Shit, I was trying to keep the Elliott out there, right? Well, but you don't have to think about Elliott Wave here. We can just think about the 50. All right, we'll get into a count that will support that thinking in just a minute here. So, but right now we're not there yet, right? Now, let's not jump ahead. Let's not assume anything. Right now we're in the sell zone. So with that said, so we're going to watch for what happens here with regards to breaking this channel, right? The channel has been set, right? Market does that for us conveniently. So we get this clear channel here, one test here right at the 50, which so a technical pivot, you'd call that. Now it does, as we come down here and retrace, you could certainly see how it would be reasonable to anticipate that there will be some resistance here as we pop into the edge of that. Doesn't mean we can't get through, but expect a little resistance. That might set up this. Well, so here's your first target, second target, third, right? You can see how we can get down there. So let's wait and see, right? This is pretty typical. So we're at a decision point going into the weekend. What happens? How do we respond here? This is an area, of course, to be paying attention to as well. I think you probably, since you've got I would consider this trend line here as a bit of channel support, but with that pivot here, I certainly could draw some median lines on this. So we go deep here for this pivot. But then note here, if we're going to come up and, here would be right to the 50. It's going to take a little bit longer. Here we are at the golden zone. Here's the low volume node here. If we come up and catch it here, you can understand why, right? Structure. If we're going to hit that, then again, it sets it up. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but that you certainly can't eliminate that possibility until we get through this 65. Then it starts to look a little bit differently. But so again, well, pardon me, that's the bigger target, so that would be pushing us down here. Right, back to this buy zone here between 8,800 and the 50s at, let's call it 8,500. So you've got about a $300 target down here for the potential target for the sell and the buy zone on the larger degree to be hitting into that 50. So now if we were to come up here and do that, just for the sake of argument, let's just say we did that. All right, so if we're going to come up to the 65 here, right? So this would be a significantly technical event here to come up and tag the median line at the golden zone. Now, of course, we don't have that. We don't know that that's going to happen. But were that to happen, if you're a short seller here, that's an ideal place to do it because you can be so tight on the stop, right? So I might give it a little cushion there just because of that center line. I might get on the other. Well, if you really wanted to give it enough cushion, you get on the other side of this trend line, of the channel line acting as a trend line. Give that a little room. So if you're going to go first target, well, there's 4 to 1. You're going to get the bigger, that would be the bigger targets here, first target here. So there's 6 to 1 for a seller, and that's giving it max room. You want to tighten up a little bit? Not give it that much room? Well, there's almost 9 to 1, a little over 8.5 to 1. And that's assuming you only go first target. We get to the 50, there's almost 10 to 1. So the short potential is there, Right now, will I be doing that? Nope, no. I look for the opportunities to be a buyer. So where are those? Where could they be? Well, based on what's happening here, you have to give the ball to the bears here because of this technical reaction here. So until we break this 65, so let's think that through. So let's say we get through the 65, then the next retrace. So it might influence your thinking here. Trying to keep the Elliott out of it. So let's think that through. So we come up here and we we get through the 65 through the channel. So we have some sort of a big rally over the weekend, right? I think there's likely to be, because it's, well, not to digress in what's happening in the index markets, but there's likely to be some volatility because these are holiday and thin trading. So, and Monday's a holiday in Europe, so you're going to have volatility likely in the world indexes going into Sunday night and Monday. That kind of volatility, if the idea of Bitcoin as potentially a place to park some money as a safe haven is going to continue to, right, that's a big if that's going to continue, then maybe if we were to get something like this, now you're getting more bullish because we're breaking through at least this 65. But of course, we got to break through the big one. Whoop, let's see if I got the big one there. Nope, I don't. The big one, you got to get through all the way, right? So from the absolute, the lowest low right here. Okay, here's the big one we got to get through, right here. Let's call it 12.2. We've got to get through that one. Now it's game on bulls. So a lot has to happen, right? And right now, as I said, you'd have to give the ball to the bears. It's theirs to lose it. All right, so as we come up in this zone, so even on the shorter term, you've got that. On the longer term, you've got the next one. So a series of stiff resistance for bulls to get through before you can really declare, okay, correction's over and we're off to a new. Well, a new wave count. Oh, shit. Sorry. It's hard for me to leave the Elliott out. We're off to a new trend, right? So we'd have a series of higher highs and higher lows. So new trend starting, breaking this trend that we've been in, which is kind of stalling here. So the idea of lower lows and lower highs has stalled. We've stalled down here at this support. So let me clean this up a little bit, and then we'll throw the Elliott on there and see if it's helping. So let me get this off of here. So you really can look at this. Let's go back to that 4 hour. So the very clear support zone being established here now with this pivot as the low. So this is pretty clearly the key support level down here. All right, so bulls, we don't want to see that break necessarily if we're going to get out of this without breaking this trend channel, right? This trend line, which, right, so you say, well, you're kind of sending me mixed signals, right? If we're going up here and then we're going down to that target, well, now we're back to where you're looking for a reaction here. Again, just no Elliott, right? We don't have to think wave two. Just where the algo is going to start buying, right there. So it's typical of Bitcoin. It's a lot of mixed signals. But we can definitely see that this has been established as the current, well, beyond current, right? This is our support zone. From this pivot, these pivots, we're catching everything. So a break of that, of course, would be giving the bears, right? Then we've got, so what is it, the 50? Is it the algo target here? Is it the golden zone? So this will be important to keep an eye on. And really, I think also this trend line here, critical, right? If we start to break there, well, then you're losing the last trend line support. I mean, there's no, I mean, maybe you could start doing, it depends if you got down here, but where are you connecting from? There's nothing really good for you. So this trend line, this support here, I would call that critical support for bulls. All right, so I don't know that there's anything else I can add there that would be non-Elliott based. Yeah, I think that covers everything. I can't think of anything I've missed there. Okay, so with that said, I got everything. I think I do. Okay, so so we left off right here with this being the last algo play, that 50 creating this channel. All right, with that potential resolution below us. Okay, so with that, let's see. I'm gonna try to do it this way here. I've been kind of experimenting with this. It takes me a second to get all this back on here. So bear with me a second. We'll get all the Elliott back on, and then we'll just go through this plus an alternate that I've got for you. So I think I want this. That's a lot of Elliott. Okay, bear with me. We'll get it done. Is that all of it? Nope. Nope. Still more. Okay, that catches it. Okay, there we go. All right, so there's a full cluster, which I know you can't see. Okay, let's go. Let's try the 2 hour here. See if we can get through it. Right. So we've been through this many times, guys. We know that, right? So I'm not going to take you through this section here. So the idea here, we've got it again. Whether it's a zigzag or a flat, we've got a 3 into a W. All right, it's either a shallow B wave in the flat, or we've got kind of an ugly diagonal in the A wave. Either way, we get a W. Now this, as a primary, and there is an alternate here, but as a primary, I'm more inclined to think WX, right? So partly because we'd be looking for that X, the ideal location would be 618. Now, yeah, we get through it, and we get through it, right? We've talked about that a couple of times here. We're getting through the sell side algo from the pivot, right? So, which would be, you would interpret that as bullish, yet so if we were, I know that you can't see here, but so if you were thinking, oh, the next thing down, which would be, I know you can't see it, but from here, the next thing down would be at this 50 looking for that target, and that falls apart. So buy side is broken, sell side is broken, so thus all the mixed signals in here. But from an Elliott perspective, this is ideal for an X wave. So let me get this off here just to declutter. Okay, let's get this off as well. Okay, so we can go W. Here's the count as I see it. W, 3 into an X. Now, here's where it's getting interesting. Purists may disagree with me here. I understand that. I think we've gone into I think we have a W, potentially now a second X going into to finish with a Y down here. That's where I think we are. So I think we've gone, so WX, and then I think we're going to go again WXY. So, oh shit. So I should actually connect those through. Let's do it right. We'll use the tools here. So we'll go this way. We should go WXYXZ is what I think is happening here. So let me get, this is WX. Okay, do I have one too many? I may have one too many. WX, Y. Yeah, okay, shit, I think that works actually too. Okay, so you got a lot of, this is crazy, Elliott, right? We're as you'll often hear me say, where the Elliott is most useful is when I've got clear 3s and 5s. All right, now we're into an extremely complex, potentially, God knows how this is going to resolve, but we are in the deep end of the pool here with regards to Elliott. So there, a lot of Elliott traders, I completely can understand going, oh Jesus Christ, fuck that, right? So let's just stick with what we can see. Let's identify the channels, the structure with the algos. So that's the reason that I've been focusing on that. So we don't get so completely caught up in here. What the hell is it? Is it WXY? Do we have a triangle here? Can't have a triangle in the second. Can't be a WXY into an A. What all of the that really extreme nuance of Elliott, it'll leave you paralyzed, right? So you won't be, I don't know what's to do, so that before you know it, the thing takes off one direction or the other, and you're still trying to figure out, was that a W of an X of a Y? So give it its due respect, right? So it's always a question: is it helping you? If it's helping you do the analysis, great. If it's not, get it off your chart. Wait until it's absolutely crystal clear. There's a 3, there's a 5. My view, right? My view. I hate to see you guys missing opportunities here because you can't figure out the Elliott count. It's like I said, if it's helping, use it. If it's not, take it off the chart. Or, as I just did, you may throw up a count on there, but if it's confusing you, just hide it. Right? Once you get more clarity, bring it back and then finish the count. So we don't know. We're looking here. Is this going to be 3 or 5? How do you know? What is this, right? Again, I guarantee 5 Elliotticians give you 5 different counts there. I know because I've been to 5 Elliotticians who are, I would tell you they're better than I am. I get 5 different counts from them. So is it helping here? Well, I actually think you can make a case that it is helping here. So what we're seeing now, let's go. have to go 30-minute? Maybe I have to go 30-minute. Okay, let's look at this. All right, this has been, this section here, by far, right, this is the most difficult to get a clear count on, right? What the hell is this? What is this? We've been back and forth, right? So it can't be, we looked at A, B, C. We looked at 1, can't be a 2. We looked at 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So let me get this off here. So if I think you got to treat it like a triangle, right? I think, how'd that get rid? I think you have to treat that as a triangle. It just, of all the things, now it's an imperfect triangle, right? So technically we don't get, the B wave isn't perfect, but I think of all the options, I think you have to go WX, right? And partly that's because coming out of that, I get this 5. So I think you got to go out of that X. You can go A into the 3B, and then you got to work the C here. Now that completes it. So I can go WXY into, all right, so here's my internal ABC of the Y that gives me a candidate. I'm going with a W, right? Purist, all right, if I'm wrong there, now feel free to take the other side. So coming off of this potential Y, much as I want to find an impulse there, it's just you can't make it work without just a hideous force fit. So I think we have to look at this as a 3. We have to think 3. God damn it, come here. We have to think 3. 3, 3. Well, there's definitely a clear 5 there. So I can go 1, 2, and actually all the sub 1, 2, 3, 4, and then look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 5. So beautiful subdivision here. So I think you got to go 3 there. You got to go 3. But then coming down here, it's just as, this is unclear. So if we're thinking W, all right, so if the Y's in and now we're going after the X, well, I got an ABC here. Well, this is open to interpretation, right? So again, here we are dealing with the imperfections of Elliott, right? So so at first glance, you look at that and you go, oh, come on, man. That's an impulse, right? Well, how are we calling that anything else? I hear you. I get it. I see it. All right. So it's already a stretch to call that. What the fuck is that? Right. So you're gonna have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's tricky, right? So the 3, excuse me, the 3 is clear. I can get a 1, 2 in here. It's mighty skinny, but then is it 3, 4, 5 at the smaller degree? Let me go super small. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What I complete there? Is this shit? See, that's it's just brutal. So do we go 3? Fuck. It just, what do we have there? Do we have to put the 5 down here and go into the 4 here? You can't finish a 5 there. I'm on the 30-minute. So where else are you going to put it? 3, 4, 5. So you've got this wick to deal with. It's just right. You can't get anything clear. But so if I think A, B, something finishes here. Something has finished here. All right. So I'm tentatively, right, if I could do it in pencil, I would. I'm penciling in the X there. I know. I don't love the ABC, but I think that's our best case to work with here. Now, coming off of it, what do we have here? All right, is that clear to anyone? I don't think so. So what could it be? Well, if this is going to be the W, and this is remember, this is, shit, let me pull out. This is a WXY of a proposed X. So I'm playing this, I'm looking for this before we come down again. Or at least the potential is there for this to come down again. So that's back to, well, I can put some median lines on this. All right, now let's think with our Elliott hats on. Okay, if this is going to be, get this over here. Okay, this X, right, we can't go past this one. And ideally, just as this one, the ideal location for that would be 618. So I can kind of put the whole thing together here. All right, so if I can get that 3, now look, so right, look where that tees up. Now, of course, we got to get through. We got to get through the channel. Then we got to get through the. Are we going to pivot here? We certainly could. We're going to get maybe a bounce here and then get up to this. All right, at this point, we're looking for. So this is our Y wave. So we're looking for an ABC. We're looking for 3 here. So you can kind of see how it could do that, and then you're down here trying to finish that Y. So the potential bank shot is there, right? Up we go, down we go. I don't think there's well, I shouldn't say that, right? I promise there are Elliotticians with different counts. I get there'll probably be 25 comments underneath, right? Oh, it can't be that. Well, as I always say, right? I'm never one to insist that my count is the right count. Feel free to take the other side of it. You think my head's up my ass? I really don't care. Right? So I can look at this. The Elliott here, it's giving me some guidelines here of what I might anticipate, but I'm not making the trading decision exclusively off of what I'm anticipating from the Elliott. I'm looking at the geometry here first and foremost. Here's the swing, here's the 50, here's the 618. I can get some median lines on that. That's what I'm basing that decision on. If it does that, well, that's convenient to the count that I've teed up here. Don't like it? Feel free to take the other side. No. Right, I don't mean to be arrogant about it. I'm just, you're right. I mean, you always, right? That's what makes a market, right? Difference of opinion. But I guess my broader point here is I don't want the fact that there's lack of clarity here in the Elliott count to keep you out of potentially good trades. Now, would this be a trade to take? Well, you can look at this and say, okay, all right, so there's an internal retracement. We don't overlap that pivot. Right, so potentially you have a corner pocket. If this pivot holds, we maintain 80% of getting there. There's the 50, 618. That doesn't change. So could you or should you be long there? Well, that would have been, that's a tough one to know. Now do note here that what do? We just note the confluence of what happened here. I've got 2 center lines and the 38 to the tick. Right, so something technical happened here. Now I know that's the 38 from the high. Right, but algos, will tend to not care about whether or not you're calling that an X wave or not. Right, I mean, and again, we don't know that that's algorithmically driven, but it wouldn't surprise me. Right, God knows how many algos are in here. Right, we can only identify a few of them, but the one that we can see, I know what happened there. I know why this sold off here. I don't have to wonder. Wonder why it sold off there. Now, if we get through up here, I know what's likely to happen next. Right, so again, just thinking forward. Now, let's say we do get through here, right? And we get through. Remember, that would set up that pattern, that alternating swing pattern here. I'd be paying attention to the next 50 because you're going to lose, at least from this pivot, you're going to lose the sell side algo, right? So where would that put that algo? Well, you got to go back to the next one. Then they're up here, right? So don't forget, you got to go back one, or you'll find yourself seeing this going up and going, oh man, we got to buy it because you broke this 65 and you're buying right into that one. So just, right, remember, you always got to look back one if you get a break. Where's the next one? What could they be using next? Right, so this, as we come out of here, what do we call this? You don't have enough to call it anything. We've got a candidate here for, well, per my count, I've got an X wave. I've got a potential X wave here of a WXY of an X. Right, that's how I'm viewing it. Now, if we start to come down here, right, don't panic here. Right? So that's a lot of people, that's kind of what they're waiting for. So a couple of things that just logical common sense. So we know the backed futures are coming in September. So if you think about that, if institutional money is looking to come into this market, which is the broad-based assumption, where do you think they're going to want to buy it? Right? If they sense the market is weak here, I would be anticipating they're going to push it down as hard as they can. They're going to try and shake weak longs out as best they can, right? Which they can do. So the anticipation that they're coming in and that's bullish, not so fast, right? Just thinking your own, just self-interest, right? They're going to do what's in their own best interest or the best interest of their clients. So they're going to want to pay retail, or they're going to want to get it on sale. Right. My anticipation is that once that event happens and they can buy, look for big sell pressure so that they can buy it lower when they do start buying. Just feel free to disagree. Just intuitively, just having seen that, right? We remember what happened when Well, we've had that historically. Like there were opportunities for institutional money to come in, and what happened? Market sold off. So just just something to keep in mind. Don't try and outthink the market. It's just in the back of your mind. That certainly would make sense. But price is truth, so trade what you see. Right now, the only thing that I can say with certainty here is that this was a technical event, and that pivot is down here. If we get up here and get it again, well, the target doesn't change, right? Target doesn't move. And this is a reasonable place to be looking for a reaction, because that's our 50 from the swing from 3,200 to what was our high up here to 13,008. From 3,200 to 13,008, that's the 50 sitting right here at 8,500. So at the very least, if you can imagine that institutional money wanting to buy at the 50. If they can, right? Assuming that's their intention, right? Maybe they want to buy at the golden zone. One way or another, I guess the point is, don't assume anything. Certainly not with Bitcoin, right? Well, let me rephrase. Don't assume anything in the short term, right? I'm making massive assumptions about where it's going in the long term, and putting my money where my mouth is aggressively. So, but in the short term, right, I wouldn't make any assumption. What happens next? So first thing, right, we're just as where we started. What happens now? What happens here? Right? Is that selling, or do they break that one? All right, so let's watch that. We'll get some more clues. If this starts to come down, that will clarify, right? This could be this could be completely wrong. I know I have senseis that have different counts. Some people are still clinging to the idea there's some sort of a 1, 2, 3, 4 is in, and we're in the potentially now. Oh, shit, am I gonna look? How am I doing on time? That's 30 minutes. Well, let's go just real quickly run through this. No, I think we've covered most of it. This would be my primary. There are alternates. The one alternate that I think is worth noting here, just. All right, I'd seen some counts here and some Elliotticians who I respect. We're looking at the possibility here that we had mislabeled this, that this was a 3 and all of this sideways fuckery is a 4. And so I went back, and as I often do, and you'll hear me recommend that you guys do the same thing. When in doubt, strip it bare and just start working through the swing relationships. And I was looking to see if I could come up with a way to get this as a 3, and I don't think it's there. Although that said, let me just show you this, because this completely changed the way I'm looking at the way up. Now it's on Bitstamp, we do have this unusual wick here that you don't see on other exchanges. I remember that day. I don't remember why it was so extreme on Bitstamp, but it was. But this is kind of interesting. I think you can trade this. Look at this. All right, it's again. You can label it. How about we do this? So this is, if you're not into Elliott Wave, you can check out now. So look here, right? So there's from a redrawn proposed that's our 1-2. Now, granted, that means we're forced into a very shallow 2. But look what happens here on the 3. Right into the sweet spot here. If that's the 1-2, right into the 3, right where we're looking for it, 618-175 box. So that's kind of interesting. Now look what happens if I go length of the 1 projected from the proposed 4. Right, 2618, that's within a couple of sats. Right, that's almost to the tick. Let's get this off here. And then if we, there was one other here. So this one was good. And I think if we went length of the 3 projected from the 4, there's the 1618. Right, so this had plenty of technical confluence up here. Right, so now, with all the history, right, so this is only an Elliott nerd will be doing this like me, looking here going, did I mislabel that, right? And does that influence what's happening here? Well, I think what I was looking for was, could I make this the 3rd, right? Had I mislabeled it here, and I ended up relabeling the move off the low, and I actually, well, they both work, right? So does it matter over here? Nope, it doesn't, but that's what I was after. Could I find another count here that would put this as the 3, and I don't think it's there. I looked hard. Right? I don't think it's there. I think this is a completed impulse, and this is the correction of it, although a lot of complexity, obviously, to deal with there. So there's just a couple of different ways to look at that. Again, I don't think we're, pardon me, let's see. I think I can get you This is the alternate that I was trying to get you guys to. All right, so yeah, it's 33 minutes. Let's spare it here. This is my primary here. Let's stay with this until proven otherwise. If this gets invalidated over the weekend here, we'll be back here on Monday to update based on the price action over the weekend, right? Rather than bore you through another alternate here. You guys, that's, I mean, it's worthwhile doing, right? It's always a good idea to see if you can come up with an alternate here. This was me kind of working through a count, looking for something that I could be definitive about, and really you end up maybe this 3, 4, 5, is something that we can be clear about, but then what do you do with this, right? And that sort of left me with the WXY, and that's how I ended up over here finishing this as a WXY of a WXY, right? So there you go. All right, so plenty of Elliott to chew on. Don't like my count? Again, I'm not here to insist that my count is the right count. Strip it bare, work through all those swing relationships, see what you come up with. That's a good exercise, right? Will it affect your next trade? Well, that's up for you to decide. I don't think you need to let it affect what you do next, right? But it might clarify where we're going on a longer term, right? Which is where Elliott is always most useful, right? The longer the term, the easier it is to spot. We get down here, we're on a 1 hour, 30-minute, right? It's changing all the time. All right, guys, there you go. Lots to chew on. Have a good weekend.